Hey guys, what's up? Once again welcome to movie Buzz Ltd. The movie had a fun beginning. Everything is perfect, and Remy the rat is seen moving into a house. Its clan was excellent. The nation of Paris has been displayed. There, a variety of meals are cooked. The clan of rats used to consume the food that was left over. However, Remy tells them to refrain from eating their lunch while digging among the trash for it. Remy used to sniff its food before eating. It used to eat food that appeared to be natural and fresh to it. On the other hand, there was also the issue of why I was consuming someone else's leftover food. Thus, it desired to prepare its own nourishment. His preferred cook was a man by the name of Gusteau. He was the reputed and #1 chef of Paris. Remy used to visit an old lady's house to watch his cooking show. However, that elderly woman feels today that I have a rat in my home. That elderly woman picks up her gun and starts shooting. However, she also fires while firing from her roof. On the roof, there was a Remy clan. As a result of the roof damage, thousands of rats have now fallen to the ground. Fearfully, the elderly woman starts to fire more. The rats then flee outside. A strong downpour has already started. Therefore, Remy is abandoned. As he is the youngest member of the clan, the family of Remy is escaping quickly out of fear. Then it continues onto the sewers. One focuses on the piece of wood, another on the leaf, and a third on another person. They are also calling Remy. But it was far behind. It had picked up the chef book while leaving that house. And it attempts to reach there, taking support of it but in vain. Its clan had left the area as a result of the rain. And the water was moving quickly, carrying them away. Now Remy stays in the sewerage for 1 or 2 days with that book. The clan, however, is not visible to him. It is really downcast. It then starts reading the book. Then it is met by its favorite chef, Gusteau. "Why are you crying?" he queries. "You're experiencing the time of your life. The world is also very big. Will you continue to be bored there? Move forward. Go to the world that attracts you, which you desire to obtain. You will shortly receive it." Remy is moving in his dream as he is ecstatic. He eventually arrives there, where Gusteau's most renowned restaurant was located. It is seated on the uppermost level of it. It does not think it has arrived at this point. Because if someone tries, nothing is impossible. Now the restaurant's interior is visible. Which tasks are being carried out in the restaurant's kitchen? There are employees working at that eatery. Then a boy arrives clutching the papers. It means that he had come here for a job. So the short-heighted head of the restaurant. He tells him, "We need a garbage boy. Therefore, we employ you as a garbage man." Linguini, the name of that boy. While working, he spills the soup that is in the pot. He is terrified and wondering what to do. There has been a significant amount of trash. So he starts to add a lot of items to make it bigger. Remy and the ghost of Gusteau, who was present with Remy, are watching it. It could not stand it because it loved to cook. With his various experiments, that Linguini taints the soup. He starts acting weirdly. Because it wants to take action. In the meantime, it falls through the glass roof and into the kitchen sink. It's drenched. It strives to get away from that place. But it says, sniffing the soup, he has spoiled the whole soup. The passion of its being chef begins to reawaken. And it wants to cook something new. It starts utilizing the materials that are around. The soup starts to get various herbs, spices, and sauces added to it. However, Linguini also notices it there. He tries to capture it but fails. The restaurant's short-heeled head then believes that Linguini is making soup. "How dare you," he says, holding up his shirt. "You're so bold to touch the soup." Meanwhile, the restaurant's waiter approaches. He then proceeds to pour the soup into the customers' bowls as he serves them. Considering that he is unaware of the specific issue that has been raised, he glances at the head and runs after him to stop. But the waiter had left and it was too late. Head is worried while coming inside. Because he knew that this soup is going to receive the bad compliments. And he will also be insulted with it. Then that customer calls him from outside. Whoever took the soup. She actually makes comments about soup like a critic. She also always assigns a grade. Her words to the head are, "Your prepared soup is extremely delicious." The head asks Linguini, who he doesn't trust, "How did you cook a very excellent soup?" Being unable to understand anything, Linguini is unable to speak. Head is currently tasting the soup. "You're going to prepare this soup in front of us," he tells Linguini, "so that we can see what substances you mixed in." Also listening to it is Remy. It starts to exit the window in an effort to save itself. But it is caught by the head. Linguini tells him to throw it while leaving. It is removed by Linguini while catching. But Linguini does not throw it but starts talking to it. "Had you really cooked that soup?" So Remy begins to nod before him. They start to communicate with each other. But Remy also wants to get freedom. So Remy flees while Linguini opens the jar lid. Linguini is disappointed that "I haven't made soup. It was beneficial to me. How will I cook soup if it disappears?" Remy returns when it notices that Linguini has become depressed. They have both moved to Linguini's small house. As the morning arrives, Remy prepares their breakfast. And they both go to the restaurant at the same time. They begin to consider how they will cook together. Because the restaurant owner only instructed Linguini to prepare the soup. In fact, Remy had prepared it. How will it lead him? So they came up with an idea, and Remy disguises himself as Linguini's chef hat. And it begins to pull its hair. As one plays with a joystick. So Remy begins to pull Linguini's hair to tell him how this step is taken. How will he transport an ingredient? And which one is it? Going to the house is good practice for them. Both had movements that were strikingly similar to one another. The following day, Linguini prepares that soup in the restaurant. In the same way that Remy described it. It compelled him to cook. Now the restaurant's owner exclaims, "You made a delicious soup. I elevate you from garbage collector to junior chef." But that head brings along a female chef to train him and keep an eye on him. And she begins to reveal more information. She also tells him her favorite Gusto dialogue. "Anyone can cook," was also their catchphrase. No matter which type of the past you had. Either you were a garbage man but you can also cook. Meanwhile, restaurant head is seen. Who was reading those documents brought by Linguini for the job. He realizes that Linguini is none other than Gusto's son. He exclaims, "I can't believe it." He summons a person and instructs him to take Gusto's cap and test the DNA from it. "Then tell me what happened after you matched with Linguini's DNA. Either he is the son of Gusto or he is not." Now that the scene has changed, it is clear that they wanted to cook something new. The head of the restaurant then asks Linguini, "Can you cook something new?" Linguini and that female chef are now cooking something. But Remy was again holding sway over Linguini again. And it was putting the ingredients in that recipe together at its leisure. When the dish is cooked, the female chef brings her homemade sauce to put on top. But Remy had been preparing the sauce since then. Then Linguini incorporates the sauce into the dish. And that dish is once again presented to the outside world. Every customer complimented the dish perfectly. And its prevalence has risen significantly. But that head still used to behave strict with Linguini. He now has to wash all of the dishes. In contrast, when Remy walks out of the restaurant, he notices someone's shadow. It could only be its brother. It means that its clan was in its surroundings. It returns back to its clan again. So its clan gets excited. Remy reveals everything there. Remy's father says to it, "Keep your distance from the human. Humans are responsible for the deaths of rats." Remy is terrified after hearing and seeing it. However, when he relocates to the restaurant the following day, it notices that Linguini is sleeping because he has a heavy workload. It tries to rouse him. But he is in a deep sleep. The female chef is also speaking to him, but he is not responding. After becoming enraged, the female chef begins to leave. Linguini awakens at the same time, and the two go outside together. With the passage of time, they begin to like each other. On the other hand, a well-known and number one critic is displayed. He used to rate the famous restaurant as 5-star and 7-star. Once he had also rated Gusto's restaurant, but it was criticized. He had written the bad compliments for it. Reading them, Gusto suffered from heart attack. And then he died. When this negative critic learns about it, when Gusto's restaurant receives a high rating, he explodes. When Linguini and the female chef are conversing in the kitchen, So Remy feels ill because Linguini is no longer in the habit of conversing with it. Remy believes, my father tells the truth. Human beings do not look after us. But I look after my clan, so I'll steal the food for them. It meant that Remy was planning to steal food from this kitchen. However, when it moves there, the kitchen is locked. And the head of the restaurant had the keys. As it makes its way to the head's office, Remy discovers some notes. There is written on those documents that Linguini is really the son of Gusteau. It is the will of Gusteau that my son will be the owner of my restaurant after my death. Now Head was also known that he is really Linguini, one and only son of Gusteau. Remy flees the scene, taking the documents with him. However, the Head begins to pursue it as well. He's not able to catch it. Remy hands these documents to both of them. It was as if Linguini had knocked on his door. Because he owned the restaurant's entire property. Following that deceptive Head is fired from the restaurant. Everyone praised Linguini now. His restaurant is becoming more popular. Because they were aware of this. He is Gusteau's son. He definitely had a taste in his hand. Afterward, same negative reviewer stops by his business and tells him. Next week, I'll be there. And I'll grade your meals. In the meantime, Linguini and Remy start to argue. Remy is told by Linguini. Okay. I've gained a lot of knowledge. I have no need for yours. He kicks Remy out of the eatery. Remy is far too sad. I always treated him properly, it reads. He is acting in this manner despite this. In a fit of wrath, he drags its clan into that kitchen. It then starts stealing food. Linguini observes them and says. So, while catching it, he cages Remy. But that day had arrived when that critic had to visit their restaurant. And he demands a peculiar dish which had not been cooked ever before. Due to his lack of experience in creating novel dishes, Linguini is currently quite worried. On the other side of the cage, Remy is likewise depressing. Then, after arriving, Remy's clan releases it from the cage. When Remy notices that Linguini is in an extremely challenging circumstance. He has no knowledge on how to prepare food. So it serves to benefit him. Now that a rat can be seen there, every employee attempts to hit it. However, Linguini tells them to keep going. The rat hiding behind it is what I cooked up until today. It's called Remy. It used to set me off. Hearing his statement, everyone became quite angry. We believe you have taste in your hand, they say. But it was all lie. You were serving us the food cooked by the rat. They all go, leaving his restaurant. He is now peacefully left alone. Then Remy's family comes over. And Remy hears these rats saying, we will aid him. Because everybody can cook, according to Gusteau. Indeed. Since we are not human. However, we enjoy cooking. Rats first and foremost groom themselves. Then they begin to prepare food. In the meanwhile, a health inspector makes visits. He notices how many rats there are in the kitchen and flees. It indicates that he will undoubtedly inform the media that there are rats in these establishments. As a result, it will receive a lower rating. Anyhow, the cooking of that dish has started. Everywhere in the kitchen there were rats. Linguini was on the opposite side, accepting commands from outside. And he was also serving them. Now that time approaches when that dish is cooked for that critic. Now that dish is served to that critic. He closes his eyes as he takes the first taste of it. Other than that one time, he had not previously enjoyed a food as delicious. Whenever his mother prepared it for him. Since during his childhood he lived in a village. Where his mom used to add the vegetables and cook it. At that time, a female chef had also arrived. Who had a small hand in Linguini. Now that critic says, I did the wrong thing. However, I am unable to describe the dish I had today. Just how much I enjoyed it. Introduce your chef with me, he requests. When everyone has left, Linguini and the female chef bring that Remy. It is our chef, they tell the critic. Critic witnesses it and is astonished. However, he claims, I truly liked the flavor of the dish. The following day, it appears in the newspaper that good analysis has been provided by that critic, and it has also been written using it. The chef of this eatery is a rat. On the other hand, that health inspector also forced this establishment to close. Because of the rat's presence, when a critic said that this restaurant's chef is a rat. Thus, Linguini was forced to shut down that eatery. Obviously, humans do not rely on rats. After that, Linguini opens another restaurant, where the chef was none other than Remy. He was accompanied by a female chef, and that critic used to come there to eat. Everyone was ecstatic. This upbeat ending also brings the film to a close. This film also teaches a lesson. What happens in our lives is for the best. And we grow too much while learning a lot from it. Thank you for your consideration.